What's up everyone, this is Oscar from Underdog, and this one's aimed at all the newbies who are thinking of setting up a little bit of a home music production studio. And I'm going to start from the idea that you just have a laptop, a version of Ableton Live, €0 in the bank, and a big dream. This is level 1 of the music producer's journey towards becoming a legitimate producer. Level 1 is the dreamer. You've got nothing but your laptop, a copy of Ableton Live, maybe you have some kind of headphones, maybe they're kind of crappy, and maybe you have some kind of speakers that you bought at the local electronics store. What you'll do with those headphones is you'll take the jack plug-in, which is a mini jack, right? And you'll plug it right into your laptop like a madman, absolutely crazy. You'll just plug it straight into the laptop, and the laptop's going to turn all the digital audio into analog audio, into voltage that's going to pump audio into your ears. Amazing. Isn't music amazing? This is pretty good, and you could get really pretty far already at this level. But let's say for the sake of argument that you want to take it further. Then you're going to go to level 2. Level 2 I'm going to call the audiophile. Why? Because the audio quality at this level becomes a bit more important. What are we going to add? We're only going to add one thing, which is an external sound card. An external sound card looks kind of like this. What has it got? Well, it's got a volume knob on the top of it, and it's got a bunch of inputs and outputs, and it connects to your computer via USB. So your computer sends digital signals to this sound card, and this sound card does something called digital to audio conversion in a really high quality way. And so you're going to plug your headphones into this thing instead, and you may need to turn your mini jack into an actual jack with just a simple converter. Straightforward enough. This converter doesn't do anything except just change the form factor of this. It's not changing the quality of the signal at all. So you plug that straight in. And so now instead of those speakers that you're using, that you've been connecting straight into your laptop, you might want to get some more fancy speakers, which we refer to as studio monitors. Studio monitors are in the best case big ones like this, but even the small ones, they have audio connections that require jack-sized plugs, so the slightly bigger sized plugs. So at level 2, the audiophile level, you upgrade the quality of your audio and you upgrade the quality of your speakers to be something that people refer to as monitor speakers, right? The goal of monitor speakers is not to flatter your sound, not to sound as great as possible, not to have like bass boost kind of technology that they sell to consumers. What instead you're going to want is something that's sold as studio monitors, and the goal of studio monitors is to sound as neutral as possible so you can really hear the details of what you're doing. That's level 2, the audiophile. At this point, it's worth noting that we've got 2 types of cable. We've got USB cables, and so what goes through USB cables is ones and zeros. It's a digital signal, right? And we've also got audio cables. What goes through that is voltage, or we might just refer to it as sound. Sound goes through these cables, and digital signals go through the other cables. Those are the 2 main types of information you have to think about. And at a certain point, digital audio has to become analog to be able to reach your ears. And so far, that's the only thing that we've been thinking about, is that the digital sounds inside of your computer have to be transformed into voltages before they can hit your ears through either your headphones or your speakers. Does that make sense? Now, so far, audio has only come out of your computer. So let's take it to level 3, where we also add in audio that goes into your computer. And it's great because this sound card also acts as the hub for that. It's got several inputs on the front where you can insert cables so it can receive audio in. And then inside of Ableton or your DAW, you can basically just record the audio that comes in. For example, you got yourself a nifty little microphone and you want to sing into it, where you got to just figure out a way that you can connect the microphone to an audio cable, which goes into your sound card. Click, done. And now in Ableton, you can say record. By the way, this connector is called an XLR connector, but generally speaking, it's doing the exact same thing as this cable, which means that it's just transporting voltages through the wire. Essentially, there's not a lot of difference between these 2 cables. They're both just audio cables. So when you buy an instrument, you just have to figure out how can it send audio through a cable, through an audio cable, to go into your sound card. There's pretty much always a solution, just depends a little bit on what instrument you want to hook up and what kind of cables that's made for. Okay? So level 3 is the musician. The beautiful thing about level 3 is that you're going to start to bring in that human factor into your music, because the imperfections of a human performing are going to make its way into your music. And our ear really likes that. So you're probably going to sound less and less robotic, and you're going to start listening to your own productions in a more musical way. It's a great place to be. And now that brings us to level 4, which I call the producer. At level 4, what you add is a MIDI keyboard. Don't get this confused with a synthesizer. This thing makes no sound. I cannot plug an audio cable into this and make it make sound. It doesn't exist. What this thing does is it sends digital signals to the audio workstation, to your Ableton or whatever you're using. So connected via USB, we've already discussed that. It's got ones and zeros running through it. It sends digital signals to the audio workstation, and then you can use it to control virtual instruments, virtual synthesizers, virtual whatever. Anything inside of the DAW can be triggered and manipulated using one of these. Some of them also have like little sliders and little launch pads and things like this on it that also send MIDI signals. But basically one of these turns you into a very versatile composer because the possibilities inside of your DAW become almost endless. And you know, bonus points if you can actually play a little bit of piano, but my advice would be not to learn classical piano, but to learn just how chords work in pop music and be able to just play block chords. If you can just play block chords, you know enough to compose for most genres of music. Okay, now, awkward. Don't confuse one of these for one of these. What's he talking about? What the heck? So this is a MIDI keyboard. No audio comes out of this thing, okay? It's just a piece of plastic. It's super light. There's only like a tiny little bit of electronics in here. It's like a computer keyboard for musicians. This thing, on the other hand, is a synthesizer. This thing looks similar visually, and people who are not into music don't really know the difference. But what this thing does is it makes sound. I can hook this up to my sound system in the living room and play music on it without hooking it up to a laptop or to Ableton or a sound card or none of that. I don't need any of that. Now, the confusing thing is that a lot of the modern keyboards can do both things. They can both make audio and send MIDI data into your DAW to control digital synths. So it's one nuance. One is a MIDI controller and one is a synthesizer. One sends MIDI data into your DAW to control virtual synths, and the other one makes actual sound, musical noise comes out of it. And some things can do both. Just remember, in terms of cable types, you'll have to plug an audio cable into your synthesizer to get audio out of it, and you have to plug a USB into your synthesizer to get MIDI out of it. I'm not going to talk in this video about MIDI cables. A lot of older synths, like this one, they don't send MIDI out through USB, but almost all of the newer ones do. So if you're a beginner, just get a modern synth that does MIDI via USB. Okay, I hope I didn't confuse you with that one. So that's 4 levels of home studio setup for beginners. Which one are you? The beginner, the audiophile, the musician, or the producer? I hope you understand the how and why of some of the basic connectors, and leave some more questions in the comments, especially if you're a beginner, especially if you're in the process of trying to set up your own home studio or bedroom studio. If you want to learn electronic music production from A to Z in a more complete way from me, follow my Foundations of Electronic Music course. Level 1 if you're a beginner, or level 2 if you're intermediate. Come show us on the Discord channel what you did with all of this. Like the video and subscribe to show me some love. And until next time, stay producing, be good to each other, and take care. Bye-bye.